Alright, so today we're going to be discussing area of a sector. So the first thing that we need to do is review area of a circle. So our area formula is A equals pi times r squared, and r is going to be our radius. Alright, so if we look at the first example, so we're given the radius of 12 here, so I'm just going to plug that into my formula. So I'm going to say A equals pi times 12 squared. So A is going to equal 144 pi. And if I work that out, that's going to come out to 452.39 meters squared. So we could see both of these answers as a way to answer a problem. This one is going to be in terms of pi. So that just means that we didn't multiply pi out. Alright, so let's look at number 2. So on number 2, I'm given the diameter of 18 inches, and to find my radius, I need to take 18. I'm just going to divide that by 2, and I get 9 for my radius. So now I'll just plug that into my area formula. And I end up getting 81 pi, which is going to come out to 254.47 inches squared. Alright, so then we might see some examples like number 12, where it asks us to find the radius of a circle with an area of 380.13 square inches. So I'm still going to take my area formula. And now instead of plugging in R, I'm going to plug in for A. So I'm given the area. And now I'm solving for R. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide both sides by pi. So with that, I end up getting 120.999. So I'm just going to go ahead and round that to 121. So I get 121 equals r squared. If I take the square root of both sides, I'm going to end up with r equals 11 inches. Alright, so then we might have a problem like number 15, where we have a couple different steps that we need to do. So I need to find the area of a circle with a circumference of 26 pi feet. So I know that circumference is going to equal 2 pi r. So if I plug in my circumference, and I need to find the area, so I still need to find r. So here I can just divide both sides by 2 pi. So pi is going to go away, so 26 divided by 2. So r is going to equal 13. So now I'm just going to take r equals 13, and I'm going to plug it into my area formula. So I get A equals pi times 13 squared. So A is going to equal 169 times pi, and I end up getting, whoops, I didn't do this one on my calculator yet, 530.93, and that's going to be feet squared. Alright, so now that we have reviewed area, we can move on to area of a sector. So when we are talking about area of a sector, so a sector is going to be a section of a circle, and it's going to be bounded by a central angle and its intercepted arc. So we can think of a sector like a slice of pizza. So all area of a sector is it's really just taking the area of one fraction of the circle. So our formula for area of a sector is A equals x over 360. We're going to multiply that by our area formula. Alright, so x is going to be our degree measure of the arc, and r is still going to be our radius. So right here you can see that we still have our area of a circle. And this fraction here is just that portion of the circle that we're taking the area of. Alright, so if we look at example number 1, so we have that BC equals 16 feet, and our intercepted arc is going to be 51 degrees. So I'm just going to take this, I'm going to plug it into my formula, and I'm actually going to show you guys 2 different ways that you could write the formula when you solve these. Whichever way is easier for you is the way that I would suggest that you do it. So the first way, so I'm going to plug in everything I know. I have 51 over 360. And then I'm going to multiply that times pi times 16 squared. So I end up getting 51 over 360, so times 256 pi. So here is where I would say that we can just go ahead and put this over 1. So we can say 51 times 256 times pi. So 51 times 256, we get 13,056. So times pi, and we're going to divide that by 360. So once I plug all that in my calculator, I end up getting 113.94, and that's feet squared. Okay, so we took our just little section that we had right here and ended up getting our area. Alright, so on the second one, I'm going to show you all the way that I normally write these. So right here where I put this over 1, we can actually just combine everything in this top part and put it over 360. That's what I normally do, and then that's also how you can put it in the calculator. So for number 2, our angle is 139. So I'm going to do 139 times pi times r squared, so our r is 22. And then all of that I'm going to do over 360. So when I do 139 times 22 squared, I'm going to get 67,276. Still going to multiply by pi, divided by 360. And when I plug all that in the calculator, I end up getting 587.09 centimeters squared. So then another kind of example that you could have would be one like number 4. So we need to find the area of this shaded part right here. And we don't have the angle measure. So the first thing that we need to do is find out what that angle is. So we're going to say 360 minus 126. And I'm going to end up getting 234. So now I'm just going to plug that into my formula. So I get A equals 234. I'm going to multiply that by pi times 13 squared. All of that I'm going to put over 360. Okay, so then I multiply that out. I'm going to end up getting 39,546 pi divided by 360. So my answer comes out to 345.1 yards squared. All right, so then one other example that you may see would be one. Oh, sorry, we actually have 2 more examples. All right, so if we look at number 9, so no, sorry, where am I? Number 8. All right, so on number 8, so we are trying to find the area of this sector right here. So we know that this little square means that this is 90 degrees. So then I have 360 minus 90. That's going to give me 270. So before I plug everything into my formula, I'm going to look at the fraction 270 over 360. So when I put that in my calculator, I get 0.75, and I know that 0.75 is going to be 3 divided by 4. So now I can just say 3/4 times my area. So my area is going to be pi times 29.5 squared. So all I did was I took my fraction that I was going to have, and I just went ahead and simplified it before I plugged everything into the calculator. So I'm still going to do 3 pi times 29.5 squared, and then I'm just going to divide that by 4. And I end up getting, whoops, times 3. So I end up getting, had a calculator error, sorry, 2050.48. All right, and one last problem that we're going to look at is one like number 11. So if we look at number 11, so we know that this is a diameter, and this is also a diameter. So if I know that this is 46, then I know that this has to be 134. If this is 134, this is also going to be 46. Can't really see that because I wrote in pencil, but that's okay. All right, so we could solve this 2 ways. So we could take the area of just this sector right here, and then we can multiply it by 2 at the end. Or we could go ahead and say, okay, they equal the same thing, so I'm just going to say 2 times 46. That's going to give me 92, so that means that my angle is going to be 92. So I'm going to have 92 over 360, and then I'm going to multiply that times my area, which is going to be pi times 7 squared. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply everything in the top. So I end up getting, on the top I end up getting 14,162. Oop, you know what? I put that in my calculator wrong. I'm going to do 92 times 7 squared. There we go. 4,508 pi divided by 360. So I end up getting by 360. Whoops. So I end up getting 39.34 centimeters squared. So if I had done this with just 46 as my angle, then when I got to this step, I would need to then multiply that by 2. All right, so now y'all should be ready to practice. You really just need to know to plug in the angle and plug in your radius. So you should be ready to practice. There's a formative check, and then you'll also follow that with a mastery check.